We are in December, and it's been mentioned, obviously, Christmas season. Maya is our Christmas queen at our house, and so we love it. She brings all the special little ideas for Christmas, and we're looking forward to it. And I'm thinking about the passage of time. Obviously, we get to the end of the year, and we're going to go into a new year unless something drastic changes. And so it's a great time to stop and reflect. Think about it. Think about the passage of time. And I was thinking of a story that I had heard about a grandpa. He's holding his little granddaughter, and she just was sitting there on his lap, and she'd look at him, and she kind of kept touching his face, and she's looking at his face, and then she'd look at her own skin, and she'd feel her face, and she'd look at him again, and she said, "Grandpa, did God make you?" And he said, yes, he made me. And she's doing this again. She's feeling her face, and she said, Did God make me? And he said, yes, he did. And she said, he's getting a lot better at it. She was definitely observing the passage of time on the lines in her grandpa's face. I was thinking of, if we look at what's going to happen and look at what has happened, what will we say later about what we did now? What will you say in 5 to 10 years about, let me get this straightened up here. What will you say later about what you're doing now? And if you look at the things you did in the past, what do you regret? What do you value? If you just go through time and don't remember and don't reflect on it, you won't learn from it. So this is a call to learn from the past. I want to go into a story, but when I think of the worldscape and I think of all of the opportunities around us, I really believe that there has never been a greater opportunity. There's never been greater opportunities in any of our lifetimes than what we are experiencing right now. It's also, it may feel more volatile, may feel more uncertain, but it's also more opportunity. So if you think about what do you look forward to the opportunities in front of us. If you've been waiting on the Lord to give you a sign of the times or a sign of something that has been on your heart, here's your sign. Let's just make tonight your sign. The title for tonight's message is "The Time Is Now." I want you guys to let that reverberate in your heart. The time is now. I want to tell a story from the book of Ezra, and I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm going to skip through because just for sake of time, but I'm going to go through, and whatever verses, I have a bunch of them on my notes here, and I'm not sure if I'm going to read all of them, but I want you to hear what's happening. The Israelites were captives. Nebuchadnezzar had come in and destroyed the temple and carried away all of these captives to Babylon. Now here comes King Cyrus. Ezra 1:1. In the first year of King Cyrus of Persia, the Lord fulfilled the prophecy he had given through Jeremiah. He stirred the heart of Cyrus to put this proclamation in writing and to send it throughout his kingdom. This is what King Cyrus of Persia says. The Lord, the God of heaven, has given me all the kingdoms of the earth. He has appointed me to build him a temple at Jerusalem, which is in Judah. Any of you who are his people may go to Jerusalem in Judah to rebuild this temple of the Lord, the God of Israel, who lives in Jerusalem, and may your God be with you. Wherever this Jewish remnant is found, let their neighbors contribute toward their expenses by giving them silver and gold, supplies for the journey, and livestock, as well as a voluntary offering for the temple of God in Jerusalem. Wow. What is going on here? Think of it. Cyrus was a pagan and idolatrous king. What business does he have giving a proclamation about what the God of heaven is telling him to do? Cyrus was an outsider. And yet God spoke to him and gave him instructions, and he listened. It's amazing. He listened. In Ezra 3:3, it says, even though the people were afraid of the local residents, they rebuilt the altar at its old site. Then they began to sacrifice burnt offerings on the altar to the Lord each morning and evening. So they went, traveled there, they started to rebuild the temple, and there, I skipped some of the verses about laying the foundation. They had a big celebration when they laid the foundation. But I'm gonna go to verses 7 and 8 of Ezra 3. Then the people hired masons and carpenters and bought cedar logs from the people of Tyre and Sidon, paying them with food, wine, and olive oil. The logs were brought down from the Lebanon mountains and floated along the coast of the Mediterranean Sea to Joppa, for King Cyrus had given permission for this. The construction of the temple began in mid-spring during the second year after they arrived in Jerusalem. So they were there for a whole year, and they started getting these supplies, and in the second year, the construction began. The workforce was made up of, there's a bunch of people. All right. I'll skip that. It was made up of specific people assigned to do this work. In Ezra 4, verse 4, it says, then the local residents tried to discourage and frighten the people of Judah to keep them from their work. Interesting. What do the local residents care about what the Israelites do with the temple? Verse 5, they bribed agents to work against them and to frustrate their plans. This went on during the entire reign of King Cyrus of Persia and lasted until King Darius of Persia took the throne. Okay, that is a very long verse, because there's a couple other kings in the middle of that. Xerxes and Artaxerxes. This says, it lasted from Cyrus of Persia until King Darius took the throne. 16 years. Now, these people, the locals, hired lobbyist groups, can I say media propaganda, to frustrate the work of God, to lie about them, to try to stop them, to bring them fear, to get them to cower back and stop the construction. They even sent letters to government leaders. They got approval to forcefully stop the rebuilding of the temple during the reign of Artaxerxes. As a result, the work on the temple of God stopped during that whole time of 16 years. They laid the foundation, and they got nothing else done. Now, if you read this, I actually suggest you go through, just read Ezra and just get the whole picture. It's an amazing story. But it's also a sad story, because God had given a word through Cyrus, I want the temple rebuilt. How diligent was the opposition? It seemed like they cared a lot more than the Israelites whether the temple got built, because they actually were able to stop them. They were successful. How diligent are we? See, we've been given a mandate also to build. The Israelites abandoned the building of God's house, and they turned to building their own homes. And they built them nice. And there was no opposition for some reason. I wonder why. Why did the locals allow them to build their own homes and not to build the temple of God? The Israelites actually justified this. And they said that this must not be God's appointed time. That was what they said. This must not be God's appointed time for this because of the opposition. See, if we allow opposition or circumstances to determine God's will in our life, we're going to miss it. Do you think the devil might be able to bring some opposition? Maybe able to bring some circumstances? But too often we get the word and we allow the opposition to stop us. Eventually, God, tired of their complacency, he raised up the prophet Haggai, which is a cool name. Hey, guy, come over here. Some of these old prophets, like the names Malachi, I always think he must have been Italian. It's like Malachi. But, hey, guy, come here. I got a message to give. He must have been from New York. Hey, guy, get over here. I got to go tell them this story. Go read it. Read about it. Read what Haggai said. But this is what God said through Haggai. Why do you build your own houses and take care of yourselves, but refuse to obey me and build what I want? Now, God laid it out very clearly. Why are you doing this? The people actually listened to Haggai. They got fired up, and they started building again. And, just like clockwork, opposition and slander started right back up again. The locals tried to do it again. They sent a bad report to King Darius. But this time, the Israelites said, we will send our report as well. Now, look at that. The Israelites got involved in government. Amazing. And they got some stuff done. They sent a message to King Darius and they said, look in the records and find the decree from King Cyrus, because we have an older truth. Because the slander and opposition was saying this is always a place of unrest and all this stuff. And so Darius said, let's look. So they looked through all the archives and they found, in the one fortress, they found a scroll. And the scroll had the decree from Cyrus. I want to read what Darius said after he read the decree. And it literally lists it. It says exactly what Cyrus said. Take this and also fund it. So after that, Darius told the lobbyists and the slandering media and the propaganda and whoever else was there trying to stop them. He said, as Ezra 6, verse 7, do not disturb the construction of the temple of God. Let it be rebuilt on its original site, and do not hinder the governor of Judah and the elders of the Jews in their work. Moreover, I hereby decree that you are to help these elders of the Jews as they rebuild this temple of God. You must pay the full construction costs. I like Darius. Without delay, from my taxes collected in the province west of the Euphrates River, so that the work will not be interrupted. Give the priests in Jerusalem whatever is needed in the way of young bulls, rams, male lambs for the burnt offerings presented to the God of heaven, and without fail, provide them with as much wheat, salt, wine, and olive oil as they need each day. Then they will be able to offer acceptable sacrifices to the God of heaven. Again, remember, this is a pagan king. They'll be able to offer acceptable sacrifices to the God of heaven and pray for the welfare of the king and his sons. Those who violate this decree in any way will have a beam pulled from their house. Then they will be tied to it and flogged, and their house will be reduced to a pile of rubble. He was serious. One of the translations says he will have a beam pulled from his house, and they will be pulled out and impaled on it. Like, man, this guy, he was like, you guys are going to do this. All right, verse 12. May the God who has chosen the city of Jerusalem as the place to honor his name destroy any king or nation that violates this command and destroys this temple. I, Darius, have issued this decree. Let it be obeyed with all diligence. You can believe they got busy building, and those that had tried to slander, they came right back in and they started helping, and they funded the whole thing. They got it built. The Lord has already given me a word for 2025. I like, again, the whole thing, passage of time, New Year's, here we go. And I was kind of expecting something maybe toward the end of the month, get into January, and I'm saying, all right, Lord, 2025, what is it? He's given me the word, at least for me. That word is excellence. Excellence. Let everything be done with excellence. So evaluate your life. Every area of your life. Is it excellent? Are there areas that you just sort of let it slide? This is your year. This is the time. 2025 is a year of excellence. We do it right. We finish the work. We do the work. We go after it. We don't let another year go by. Whenever I hear the word excellence or excellent, I think of one specific man in the Bible, and I would say this guy is probably my favorite. I have a lot of favorites, but this is Daniel. I mean, what an amazing guy. He served under 5 pagan kings with honor, with excellence. He brought the Spirit of God into a pagan land. He did not compromise, ever. Daniel was amazing. Actually, Daniel 6 verse 3 describes him. It says, then this Daniel distinguished himself above the governors and satraps because an excellent spirit was in him. And the king gave thought to setting him over the whole realm. Must have been a pretty excellent guy. It was visible. It was obvious. Everything he did was with excellence. Isn't it time that we obey the Lord and we complete the construction of his church? What's his church look like? If you think of in construction terms, in fact, maybe this is kind of a carryover from the last time I was up here with tools. But what does the church of God look like in its construction? Isn't it time that we just stop being petty? Stop being selfish? Stop being whatever that's ungodly? Isn't it time? I mean, how long are we going to keep doing the same thing and expect different results? It's time that we start thinking about the big picture. And I'm sure there are times we think about the big picture, but it needs to be dominant in our lives. It needs to be something that informs our everyday. See the big picture. Let it be in front of you all the time. I had a dream, and I want to tell what happened in the dream. These little things have something to do with this dream. This is as close as I can get to cinder blocks. All right. I came into this dream walking on a block wall. And typically, I don't know how you guys dream or how you experience things like that, but when I come into a dream that the Lord is showing me something, it feels differently than just another dream. And I feel it. There's a veil that passes my face. So I came into this dream, make sure I don't stumble on something here, and I was aware. I'm standing on a block wall, and I used to do construction, and so it didn't feel scary or unnatural. So I started walking on this wall, and I was just admiring how nice and straight everything was. Must have been Amish guys that did it, because it was like, everything was perfect. They had pointed all the joints. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but the masons had made the little, done all the work to tidy everything up. There was no slag on the side. The footer was all cleaned up. It was just a really nice block wall and cleaned up. And I got to where the wall just ended. I was just admiring it, and all at once I said, well, there's no wall. And I looked up, and here there was just an opening, a gap in the wall. And about where the chairs start, the wall started up again, and nice and straight, made a turn, and over there was a gap in that wall. It came over to the corner and back over here, and over there was another gap in the wall. And then turned the corner and came back over to me, or came back over here and then over to the wall that I was on. And I realized, okay, there's 4 walls here. 1 wall is complete, and the other 3 have big gaps in them. And I heard the Lord. I actually asked him, I said, well, what do you want me to do? He said, lay the foundation. Start laying block. I guess get in the dirt. Get muddy. Pour the footer. Start laying block. I have meditated about that dream quite a bit. That was several years ago that I had that dream. And I kept thinking about, what are those gaps? What are those gaps? And the Lord has shown me a few things. I don't want to get into what each one of those gaps are, because then we'll start to just evaluate those specific things. Let the Lord show you what those are. But I want to tell you what this wall is in the church. This is the construction of the church. Actually, the Lord told me, he said, finish the foundation so that I can build what I started. The foundation of the church isn't even completed. So how are we going to get something big that the gates of hell will not stand against? This wall that is complete is the wall of salvation. Everybody agrees on salvation. Like, you can't get to heaven unless you're born again. So everybody in the church, pretty much, all denominations, it's as universal as water. It's like, that's the only way you get to heaven, is if you're born again. If you don't believe that, you're probably not part of the same church. Somehow we've been given the idea that we all need to look the same in order to agree with each other. We all need to act the same. We all need to think the same, or we can't work together. Does anybody remember a message that I preached here? It was called Unity is Not Uniformity. Do you remember that? It was the old sanctuary. There was a lot less people and a lot less space in here. But I preached this message about unity and uniformity, and that so much of our lives has been about everyone be uniform with each other so that you can be in unity, but that does not bring unity. That just makes you look like you're unified. But unity does not require you to look the same. In fact, if you all agree with me, I don't need you. Right? All I need is one opinion. If we all have the same opinion, you guys can all leave, because I already got one. I need you to disagree with me. There needs to be some, if it feels like two people are arguing with each other, but they come to an agreement. The agreement is better than either of them by themselves because they were able to talk through it. So I put this stuff together, and I'm just going to, I'm going to do something here. This is, I don't know if you guys can see this, but these are the narrow blocks. So this is the wall of salvation. It's already tipping. How tall can I make this? How tall can I make this thing? Oh, come on. I was hoping it'd at least stand. But, I mean, it doesn't take much. And this thing, if I would jump, that thing would fall. I mean, now, what if someone goes, well, I'm going to build this. Like, this is a very simple visual, but this was in the back, and there's some Lego fanatics back there that were building different things. Even if you try to balance it, it's not as stable. I'm not even going to leave this thing sit here because it's going to fall. But see this. This is the salvation wall. This is all we have as a church. We keep trying to build this wall, and it just gets bigger and bigger and collapses on itself. And there's a church split, and everything falls down into the basement, and we have a mess. And people go, I'm out. I want to have nothing to do with this. The church is a mess. I hate it. How many people that don't come to church made that decision just on their own without some conflict, some break, of some kind? That's what does it. Now, what if, I don't want you to see that I did this beforehand. Okay. Pieces, all right? If I take these pieces and I make, get your act together here, man. All right, so if I take these pieces and I put them together, I really wanted to have to do this on stage. They hold each other together. They make a square. Each one of these walls being complete. This, now how tall can I build this? If I would just keep putting these together, oh, there's some cool stuff. I could even put different size things on here. In fact, I can use the narrow wall and build as long as what I put joins up with that. And here's some little guys like that. Look at this. Even if they're a different size, I can cap it with something that joins them together with a foundation that has all four walls complete. That thing won't stop. You could start it on the floor down there and keep building. If I would have a bunch of bins here, we could build this thing really high. And that's only, what, a 5-inch little Lego thing. What if you have a foundation? What if we'd have all four walls? I'll just leave that there. All four walls complete. There's been a lot of opposition. Do you think the devil cares if you build a nice home and live in it? Do you think the devil cares if you come to church and worship God? Even with this group here. Do you think that bothers him a whole lot? Sorry, it does not. Because this gathering, as we sit here tonight, is not changing the culture. Sorry, kind of a downer, but okay, we're on live stream. Maybe someone's watching that has never been to church before. But we're here because we all believe the same. We all agree. Okay, maybe we have our four walls as in this church. But what about someone who believes something that you believe is wrong? You go, that's not right. If the church would work together, it would heal our country. If we would be willing to work together with people that we disagree with, it would heal the world. And that's what we're called to do. I'm going to prove it to you. Next time you find something that you disagree with someone on, I want you to think about this. Can you join them, even if their way of doing it is different than you? What if you say, I believe in healing. I believe in healing. This is, okay, maybe that's one of the, that's you go, I got that gap filled. And that guy has a major gap because he just goes to the doctor all the time. And he doesn't believe in healing. And he wants money for his hospital bill. And God says, give him money for his hospital bill. You go, no, I believe in healing. God says, pay for his hospital bill. Do you think that by you agreeing with him in paying his hospital bill, do you think that will take him away from the Lord? Do you think that will teach him something that isn't true? Why don't you just help him? There are so many times I hear stories of people talking about other people, and they say, yeah, well, did you hear that do you see how they parent their kids? Why don't you go help them? Well, they don't want to receive help. Second, that's another issue. We need to be willing to receive help. We'll get to that. Don't try to convince people that you're right. I have that right on the bottom of my notes here. Why do you have to convince people that you're right? I'll tell you why if you want to hear it. Most of the things that we think we believe, we have to have agreement or we're not sure we believe it. If you know what you believe and nobody else agrees with you, does that change it? So often we look for agreement from other people to validate our own fears and to go, well, okay, I guess we all believe this, right? How about you find it on your own? Learn what you believe, go to the Lord, go to the Word, get revelation, and believe it. Be willing to change. Be willing to take everything that you thought you believed, throw in the trash, and then pick up the Word and read it. Oh, well, there's something. That's just like what I threw in the trash. I guess that must be all right. I guess that part of it is still true. Maybe you don't have to throw it in the trash. Just set it down and pick it back up. If you go to the Word as your basis and you get revelation from the Lord, you will find your beliefs. The Lord does not worry about what he believes. He knows. So if you go to him, you will get revelation. Ephesians 4. I'm going to read verses 2 and 3 to start with. Always be humble and gentle. Be patient with each other, making allowance for each other's faults because of your love. Make every effort to keep yourselves united in the Spirit, binding yourselves together with peace. And in the New King James, it says, the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace, which I really like that as well. Get down in the dirt with each other. Get down in the dirt with someone you disagree with. We need to restart the work of building God's glorious church. This is enough. We've messed around enough. This is not okay that there's gaps in the wall. That we're not willing to join up with the people on the other side of that wall because they dress different. Come on. Because they think something different than you. Ephesians 4, verse 4. I'm going to read a few more verses here in this. Just listen. For there is one body and one Spirit, just as you have been called to one glorious hope for the future. There is one Lord, one faith, one baptism. All right, there's a conflict. Maybe I shouldn't say it. One baptism. You know what we did last summer? You know what we do up here multiple times? We baptize people that have already been baptized. People that would stand on the one baptism only, you should only ever get baptized once, would say, heresy, I'm out. I want nothing to do with this place, because those people have been baptized more than once. It's in the Word. It says one baptism. Is that really worth fighting over? Is it worth really trying to say that's the only way that can be interpreted? Does it matter? Why don't you just keep baptizing until it takes? That's another philosophy. How about the two people, the one baptism only guy and the keep baptizing until it takes guy, get down in the dirt and start laying block together? Come on. The devil is laughing at us because all he has to do is get you fired up about something like that and get you willing to say, I'm out, and walk the other way, and you dismiss your brothers and your sisters. Verse 6, and one God and one Father who is over all and in all and living through all. However, he has given each one of us a special gift through the generosity of Christ. Now, I want to make this note here. He's given each one, so you're not exempt. You have a gift God has given to you. Okay? Don't go, JB, he's like, way over gifted and I got none. That's the devil trying to convince you of something. It's not true. Every one of us. It says each one. Now, I'm going to skip down. Verse 11. Now these are the gifts Christ gave to the church. The apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, the pastors, the teachers. Their responsibility is to equip God's people to do his work and to build up the church, the body of Christ. Actually, I keep stopping myself here, but listen to this. Their responsibility is to equip God's people. So you look at it, you go, it's someone else's responsibility. No, you've been given a gift. You're part of the list. Every one of us has the responsibility to equip God's people to do his work and to build up the church. This will continue until we all come to such unity in our faith and knowledge of God's Son that we will be mature in the Lord, measuring up to the full and complete standard of Christ. Then we will no longer be immature like children. We won't be tossed and blown about by every wind of new teaching. We will not be influenced when people try to trick us with lies so clever they sound like the truth. By the way, I'm going to interrupt myself again. You guys don't listen longer than, I got to make sure I keep stopping here, because listen to this. That's one of the tricks. Don't be willing to change. I've heard this. No, you got to know what you believe, and you can't change because you don't want to be tossed and blown about by every wind of new teaching. What if the new teaching comes from Jesus? Have you ever thought about that? But as a church, we don't do that. We don't agree with that. What if Jesus does? It's only new if it's different than Jesus, because he taught it. If what you believe disagrees with something new, quote unquote new, that Jesus is saying, throw away what you've always believed. Because Jesus was from the beginning. So the new is something you've been believing that's been false. Am I making sense? All right. Man, none of this stuff's in my notes. Instead, we will speak the truth in love, growing in every way more and more like Christ, who is the head of his body, the church. He makes the whole body fit together perfectly. As each part does its own special work, it helps the other parts grow so that the whole body is healthy and growing and full of love. That sounds like a healthy family. What are your families like? Do you have a healthy family? What does a healthy family look like? Think the dad and the mom and the kids, whether there's 1, 2, 5, or 12 or more. They're in this group together. As they get older and mature, they begin to take correction from each other. Now, the younger ones, I won't look at them. No, I will. Mike is ducking down. The younger ones, it's harder for them to take correction from each other because they go, who do you think you are? You're not the boss of me. They don't, my kids don't say that. Because I want to be my own self and I want to. But as they get older, even the younger ones can go, hey, look at that. Did you see, whatever. Oh, thanks. Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. As the family matures, they begin to build each other up. That's what edifying the body is. An edifice is a structure. Oops, I broke my structure. An edifice is a building. So to edify the body is to build up the body. As we help each other, we build each other up. Now, I'm going to come back to the side of the mature one that just got a correction. Hey, did you know that you should this or this or this or whatever? How mature are we when we get correction from someone else? Are you willing to take it from someone you disagree with? Are you willing to take it from someone who disagrees with you? There are so many things that we think differently on, and it's wonderful. It's beautiful. We shouldn't all think the same. Somebody washes their car every week, and somebody's never washed it in their life. I know of a few. So, what do? Do you think negatively about that person? Do you go, yeah, he's a dirty car guy? I washed my truck and drove into a meeting, and it was like, looked really nice, and it looked like it was going to rain, so I drove right through the garage door of the building, and the guy in there is like, oh, you washed your truck? I said, yeah. He goes, why didn't you do anything with the wheels? Tires look terrible. I hadn't blacked the tires out. So he found something to pick at, and I could go, what do you think you are? Or I could say, yeah, you're right. That would look a lot nicer. Look at his truck and go, man, that looks amazing. If we're willing to take correction, we will be able to build each other up. This street goes both ways. So be open to it. Young parents, what do you guys know about raising children, about parenting? I'm going to step on a toe here. What do young parents know? What did I know as a young parent?
Nothing.
Thank you. Exactly. I just had to guess at it. I'm still guessing. I had to my wife and I, we talk about it. What should we do? I don't know. We look around, hope nobody can see we don't know what we're doing. Let's do this and act like we're tough about it. Now, we've learned a few things over the years. We've learned at the expense of our children. But if there's something going on, even in church, if there's something happening and you go, I should help them. And you go to help that parent, and the parent goes, it's my kid. You're not the parent. Get away. How possible is that to edify that young family? Is not. They're not willing to take correction. But what if a young family, a young parent would go, oh, what would you do? I don't know what I'm doing. What would you do? Now, you still may not agree, but at least you took the instruction. You may still modify it. It may not be exactly what you do, but be willing to receive correction. Be willing to hear it. Talk about it. Disagree. Be willing to disagree and be full of love. There is something so wonderful about disagreeing in love. I love sparring with people who are not offended because we can get somewhere. We can get some stuff done. The challenge tonight is to build the church, and we are the church. Build each other. Build the four walls. If you find a gap in your own life, maybe you can ask for help. Do you ever think about that? Maybe you don't even need to be given help. Maybe you can go, hey, I still don't understand about this thing. I can start naming some things that are more controversial in the bigger church, let's say, the global church. They're controversial because people have not been willing to work together and still disagree on them. There are complete divides that they've not been willing to join. And there are people that we've not been willing to join with. What if there's there's a friend of mine that really is fixated on Calvinism right now. So it's very difficult for a Calvinist person and a non-Calvinist person to have a discussion about a specific topic and still go out to eat together and not be mad. They're not going to agree with each other. So the non-Calvinist person says, so why would you even pray for that person if that person's already condemned to hell? And the Calvinist guy says, because I love him. No, you don't. Now, are these scenarios that happen? Of course. Do they need to? Absolutely not. We should be willing to link arms with a person that fully disagrees on almost everything and go and love people. Build each other up. This is not just here in this building tonight. I'm saying go build each other up. Build other people from other churches. Find people you disagree with and encourage them. Don't try to change them. Love them. You're not going to lose. You're not going to lose out by loving them. Trust me, the Lord's a lot bigger than the results of this. We think, the Lord needs me to protect his great honor and the fact that I understand his word the most. We think we need to stand for that because, I have the best revelation. Everybody thinks they have the best revelation. If not, they'd change it. So, I'm going to leave you with this. Be healthy. Read these verses again. Go back through this. Let the Lord instruct you through Ephesians 4. Go read the whole thing. Read it slowly and think of your brothers and sisters who may look completely different. Your Amish brothers and sisters. Your Catholic brothers and sisters. How far can I go? Come on. Look for people that you disagree with and love them, encourage them. Let the Lord reveal to you the things that he wants you to do. Because when the Lord gives you a word, an action, he says, here's my word. The time is now. It's not later. The time is now. Let's pray. Lord, thank you so much for your word and the revelation that you bring. And thank you for the visuals that you give us. Thank you for the dream, showing the block wall, showing the foundation of your church. Thank you for the mandate to build the church. to encourage and strengthen, to create a true edifice of strength, of love. Lord, I ask right now that this building of your church would be happening not just in our fellowship here, but in churches all around the world. Churches joining together to bring the message of the gospel, to bring the truth that you want to live inside of us. You want to redeem us and redeem the world through us. Lord, I pray that you would give each one here tonight and each one that would be listening to this online, give them a word, give them instruction, and remind them that the time is now. We pray this in the name and in the authority and in the love of Jesus. Amen.